Hi and welcome to my channel. So this is breaking news because the Nursing and Midwifery Council in the UK, which is basically the official regulator for nurses, midwives and nursing associates in the UK, has announced that quite a good number of nurses that trained in Nigeria currently working in the UK basically acquired the test of competence fraudulently and now working in the UK. What this means is that the NMC is saying that these nurses acquire this test through fraud. As we all know, this is a very serious allegation with huge implications, not only for these nurses, but also for their employers as well as their families here in the UK. Not only that, but this is also going to have huge implications for nurses still back home in Nigeria and planning to move to the UK. So in this video, I'm going to tell you what the NMC has found so far, how many nurses are actually involved in this case of fraud, now working in the UK, what the outcome is going to be for these nurses that are involved, what actions have they taken, and what exactly is going to happen to these nurses that are involved in fraud. So if you're watching this and you're a nurse from Nigeria, any nurse from Nigeria, please do share this with them so that they're aware that there is a massive investigation currently ongoing for fraud. So if you're new to my channel, obviously you're welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, I appreciate your time, and I do hope that you're finding this helpful, because look, I have a free newsletter where I send information about the best visa sponsorship opportunities, free ways to move to the UK without breaking, yourself, work from home jobs that you can do from the comfort of your own home, earning a lot of money without thinking about those geographical boundaries, and all of that, side business opportunities that you can do in the UK so that you can earn a lot more money and get to retire early, as well as career progression here in the UK. So if you check the comment section below, you're going to see a link to my free newsletter. Once you join that newsletter, then information like this, and ways of moving to the UK, progressing, excelling and thriving in the UK, I'll send that directly to your inbox. And look, it won't take you up to 20 seconds to join, and you're going to be part of that newsletter. So like I was saying, the Nursing and Midwifery Council is saying that there has been some fraud involved. First, let me tell you, how did they discover this? So the NMC, for short, I'm going to call it that. So the NMC has delegated this task to a third party that runs these tests over in Nigeria. That third party is the person that alerted the NMC to say that, look, we are suspecting that there has been some fraud involved at this particular center over in Nigeria. And in case you're watching this and you're a nurse, for example, or you're a nurse and you're thinking, what test is this? So if you trained out of the UK and you want to work in the UK, there are two very important tests that you have to do. The first one is the English. So this is not involving the English test, but the second one is called the test of competence. The test of competence has two separate sections. The first section is called the CBT, which is basically a computer-based test. So this test, all overseas nurses need to take this test in their home country before ever moving to the UK. The second test is called the OSCE. The OSCE is only done upon arrival in the UK. So obviously the test that is involved is the CBT. So what they're saying is that these nurses were fraudulent. There was some sort of fraud involved. What fraud it is, I'm not sure. They haven't disclosed that. But what they have said is that a total of 1,970 nurses took this test at this particular test center, that is obviously organized by a third party that has been delegated by the NMC in the UK to carry out these tests on their behalf over in Nigeria. And then obviously of these 1,970 nurses that took the test, in this particular test center, the NMC has investigated so far and ascertains, let me say, that 512 of these nurses were involved in fraud. So what has the NMC decided so far? And by the way, what center it is? So this center is obviously in Ibadan. And in case you're watching this and you're wondering who I am, so my name is Melvis. I'm a nurse myself. In fact, I have a private career coaching program where I support nurses. So as you can imagine, This is a cause for concern even for me. You know, many of the members that are part of my private coaching program, you know, like I say, I work as an advanced nurse practitioner for the NHS. So this is something that doesn't only have a special affiliation to me, but as a healthcare professional, as a senior nurse in the UK, this is something that I'm very, very concerned about. And, you know, it is one of those things that you never ever hope that is happening. You never want to see happen. But unfortunately, it is now unfolding in front of all of our eyes. And this is a developing story. And I'm going to be keeping you updated on how it is happening. And by the way, you know, I do offer support with career progression in the UK, you know, getting that registration with the Nursing and Midwifery Council if you're an overseas trained nurse. If you're a carer in the UK and you're wanting to register with the NMC, again, I can support you with that journey. If you're already a qualified professional in the UK, I can support you with career progression in the UK through my private coaching program, which is called Nursing Career Bootcamp, as well as all those colleagues that are looking for visa sponsorship opportunities to move to this beautiful country, the UK, so you can make the most of all the advantages, of all the privileges that come with living in the UK. So if you check the description box below or the about section of this YouTube channel, you're going to see a link to my private coaching program, and do join so we can get started on taking you to the next stage, taking you to the next level, so that not only do you do things properly, but you're not involved obviously in cases like this, because you would have obviously gone through due process. So like I've said, you can join my newsletter, which I've dropped the link in the comment section below, and then you'll be part of that free newsletter, and I'll send that info directly still to your inbox. But for that personalized, that tailored, and that individualized support, you should consider joining my private coaching program, where I can support you with all of that. So like I was saying, it's been confirmed that this test center is in Ibadan in Nigeria. So if you've written your test of competence, you know, your CBT over in Ibadan, then I'm afraid you may be involved in this. So again, I've checked with all of the members in my private coaching program. Fortunately, obviously none of them, you know, are from this area, which is great, but I know that there'll be many people. The NMC has said that these nurses are already in the UK working, and some of these nurses are still in Nigeria, but they've already started the process of registering with the Nursing and Midwifery Council to work in the UK. So what is the decision that has been made so far? So obviously this test center has been suspended, you know, immediately. So it is no longer functional, it is no longer operational, and it is no longer possible to write your CBT over at this test center in Ibadan in Nigeria. That's the first thing that has been done. The second thing is that the Nursing and Midwifery Council in the UK has said that they're going to be writing to each of these nurses to inform them of this development. The NMC has said that they'll write to you, obviously, if you're involved in this, if you're one of those nurses, and they'll tell you that you're now under investigation because they think that you have acquired this test fraudulently, and obviously they're investigating you obviously for fraud. Obviously, wherever you're working, whether you're in the NHS, you're working in a nursing home in the UK, wherever you're working, obviously your managers will be informed, and they will have to obviously take part in that investigation, because they'll basically need information about you. You know, what did you submit during your NMC application process? How have you been at work? In fact, everything. And what I found from experience is that investigations like these end up even uncovering other things that were probably not part of the investigation. So I'm really hoping that this does not happen, and this does not escalate further onto discovering other things that are going to make a bad situation a lot worse. So again, you know, if you've got any questions as I'm going along, please do leave them in the comment section below. I know that this can be a very emotional topic. I'm just trying to make sure that I give you as much information as possible as to what is happening with this case, what the NMC has said. Obviously, like I've said, it's a developing story. So I'll be sharing more information on here as more is unfolding, obviously, as more information is uncovered. So that's the next step that I'm going to take, you know, contacting each and every one of these candidates already in the UK to tell them. The NMC has also said that for those candidates that are still over in Nigeria that were involved, obviously, they are going to obviously suspend their application to join the NMC register, which means that if you're one of these nurses under investigation and you're still over in Ibadan or over in Nigeria, then you will not continue obviously with that registration process, because there's obviously the investigation. One thing that you may be watching this and thinking is like, what about those that are working? Can they continue working? What is going to become of them? The NMC has indeed said that for now they can work, but There's one condition. The investigation is going to be ongoing, and as the NMC is uncovering more information about these candidates, that is when they're going to be suspended. That's when they're going to be struck off if they need to, because obviously it's going to be really quick before they discover that information. Because remember that they're going to go back to their profiles. What did they present? What information did they say? How did they, how have they been at work as well? Where do they work in the UK? Did they do extra shift? What do they do? There's going to be all of that is going to be obviously looked at this point. So people will be suspended or struck off from the NMC register as more information is found on their activities and their involvement with this particular case of fraud. And like I've said, it's going to have huge implications on other nurses that are still in Nigeria, because the fact that Nigeria has been on the red list, quite a few colleagues obviously have moved to the UK, but there are still many people that are struggling back home. And this is something that is only going to make a bad situation worse, like I've said before. The next thing that the NMC has said is that they're going to be fair with the process. Nobody is going to be, treated unfairly, obviously, but they're going to make sure that they get the facts and deal with the facts alone. So again, if you're involved in this, you need to collaborate. You need to make sure that, you're cutting your T's and you're dotting your I's with regards to the process that you've used. Another important thing that the NMC has said is that these candidates will have to write this test again. So if you're part of this investigation, you will need to redo that test again. And the NMC has said it is not mandatory, which means you can choose to refuse to do the test. That's your choice. But if you accept to do the test, it is not obliged that the NMC is going to let you stay on the register or give you your PIN number, which is a very difficult situation because you may redo the test and pass it, but it may still be found that you need to leave the register, you need to be struck off. And if you're somebody who has got visa sponsorship, we know the implications of this. If you've got your family in the UK, if you lose your job, they're going to cancel your visa and the visas for all of your dependents as well. So it's got huge implications as well when it comes to the family. Like I've said, do share this with your friends, especially those that are from Nigeria and even other people, so that they are aware of what's going on. And if you're working in the UK, if you're wanting to work in the UK, you're living in the UK, it is incredibly important that you're doing everything legally and that you're taking advice from people who actually do understand the system. And like I've said, if you know anybody, please do share this with them. It shouldn't come as a shock or as a surprise, so that they are obviously already aware of this information, and hopefully it is found that they are not guilty and they were not involved in fraud. Because like I've said, the NMC has the names of 512 nurses that are saying that they were involved in this fraudulent activity, even though 1,970 nurses in total took the CBT over at the test center in Ibadan. It is a shame, it is a development that is sad. It's something that none of us ever want to see, but unfortunately it happens. Again, I'll share more information here as it becomes available. Keep watching the videos and I'll see you in the next video.